Welcome to After Dark, a new program where I'm going to be talking about films, where I'm going to be talking about cinema, where I'm going to be talking about the kinds of movies you probably see on USA. Today, we're going to be talking about the Dennis Hopper directed film, Easy Rider. Now, I have the Criterion edition right here. It is a patrician's choice, but if you own a standard 420p DVD copy of Easy Rider and not the very nice restored Blu-ray copy that I own, I'm not going to judge you, because it just goes to show you would have solid taste in movies and not really give much credence to the general perception of a film. Now, a movie like Easy Rider, my suspicion is that if you were to think about it, you hadn't seen it, what would come to mind is some really cheesy Peter Fonda Capital One commercial from like 2007. Or what was Dennis Hopper doing? He was doing cellular wireless cell phone commercials back in 2003, 2002. Really, highlighted the career sort of choices being made around that period of time. Easy Rider is a movie that I only really gave a shot to because I am a compulsive person. I'm an addict in some ways, but not in any conventional sense. You see, just to the left of me, I have roughly a 1,000 physical copies of movies, many of which I don't feel strongly about because I'm terrible when it comes to buying things. I am truly the consumer meme. I am the movie Bob. It is something that I have worked on reducing in my life. But before that happened, I did get a hold of Easy Rider, and this was a used Blu-ray I found at Newbury Comics in Massachusetts. It was only $14, and I was like, I haven't gotten a Criterion in a while. Why not give it a shot? I do like Dennis Hopper.
And I really appreciate Francis Wright. Even though he does drop it on you sometimes, and it does take you sometimes, an idiot like me, a whole day to learn it.
Why did you say that to him in the scene?
Who?
Something clever like that. When he
You
says,
know
who
why?
are you?
You
Why
know
did you say,
why?
who are you?
Because I haven't learned my lines yet.
I know,
that's
you've had him
why.
for 5 days.
The other thing I'd like to say is that
His glasses are
these glasses, I can't see anything through them. But every crack represents a life I've saved. You know what I mean? They represent a life I've saved.
saying that all that in the scene.
I do, but you see, the director says, you don't know your lines. And then,
If you know your lines, then you can forget them. Because you know more or less.
I see. But that's what I'm trying to do. Forget those lines.
No, but it's no fair to forget them.
Easy Rider is written and directed by Dennis Hopper, and it was a collaborative effort with him and his co-star, Peter Fonda, as well as they had a screenwriter as well. Can't see shit through these glasses. Terry Southern. So they worked on the screenplay. They went and they shot this movie with their own money, and it's the quintessential boomer film nowadays, but at the time, it was the ultimate rebellion against the Hollywood ethos, because they did things on their own terms, and they were successful with that movie after the fact.
With the hippies and all, we had our own costumes, our own clothes, we had our own art, we had our own poetry, we had our own music, we had our own books, lifestyle. What didn't we have in there? What am I missing? We had our own plays. We didn't have our own movie.
There was an audience out there that had never really been addressed, which was the young audience. They just poured to the theaters to see it. We made all of our money back in one theater in New York the first week.
I don't think I set out to make our own movie. I was just there at that moment, and I knew this audience existed.
This movie was nominated for many Academy Awards, and it launched the career of Jack Nicholson, who plays a very small supporting role. When I watched the movie, I had all these expectations going into it. I thought, this is going to be really goofy. It's a biker film from the 60s. I think I already know where this is going. You watch The Wonder Years enough, and you think you got an idea of what the creativity was like among that particular faction within that time period. You might be wrong, though.
Look out the window of your life. Look at it carefully. Look at this war. Look at this bigotry, this intolerance, and tell me we haven't blown it. We're messing with the environment. This is way back where people did not want to talk about that. we have blown this in a terrible way. And if we don't get it together, it's never going to come back. When I was putting together the story, this was the wrong area to touch. It was more important for us to touch our inner selves rather than our outer selves.
What? What was that, man? What the hell was that, man? Huh? No, man, like, hey, man, wow, I was watching this object, man, like the satellite that we saw the other night, right? And like it was just going right across the sky, man, and then, I mean, it just suddenly, it just changed direction and went, whizzing right off, man. It flashed.
You're stoned out of your mind, man.
Oh, yeah, man, hey, like, I'm stoned, you know, man? But, like, you know, I saw a satellite, man, and it was going across the sky, and it flashed 3 times at me and zigzagged and whizzed off, man. And I saw it.
That was a UFO beaming back at you. Me and Eric Heisman was down in Mexico 2 weeks ago. We seen 40 of them flying in formation.
I also expected Jack Nicholson to have a bigger role, a bigger part in this movie than he wound up having.
This movie went in and broke barriers that people were not ready to watch.
Jack Nicholson was everybody's son. When he was killed, it was like killing your own child.
The truth about Easy Rider, I'm going to spoil this film for you. It's a 50-year-old film, so be warned. Everybody dies. Everybody dies, and everybody dies violently and randomly, which is perfect for the decade that this movie exists in. The 1960s were a bloody period, and in the many years since, it has been whitewashed with all sorts of flower power nonsense. I don't have too much to share about this movie in regards to the making of it. I'm more interested in how this fits into Dennis Hopper's trajectory as a creative person in the industry and how the industry changes as a result of the movie Easy Rider. Because this destroys everything that came before it. It was a monumental shift into something new in the film industry and gave way to directors like Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese. The whole new Hollywood clique is ushered in as a result of the hard work that Dennis Hopper put into this movie. It is such a success that a company, I believe Universal, winds up gifting him total carte blanche with his second feature, and that is The Last Movie.
His body should hit right about in here. I want it legitimate and different and better than it's ever been done. When I squeeze off a couple of shots at you, you take it, hit it, and hit it hard. I want balls when you die. All right, let's roll them. All right? Action.
And The Last Movie is, it's supposed to be shot in Central America. He's the writer, director, and star of this film, just as he was Easy Rider. And everything goes wrong with that production. He winds up, really peaking in his drug addiction and being a complete and utter mess. The production is riddled with problems, and he winds up going missing in the country that they're filming this movie in for something like a month. He just disappears. Nobody knows where he is. The crew's just hanging on. They're just sitting around waiting for something to happen until Dennis Hopper turns back up. Now, the movie finally does wind up getting finished, and the studio executives are completely flabbergasted at what is presented in front of them. They cannot believe that this is where their money has gone. It's a completely nonsensical film. It breaks the fourth wall in its final moments, something that really hadn't been done to that point in a serious movie. Dennis Hopper's career goes up in flames as a result of his actions on The Last Movie, and the general reception when this film is released. It is toured to college campuses prior to getting a theatrical run, because Easy Rider was a movie that struck a chord with the youth. And they had the exact opposite reaction with this movie. So the critics don't like it, the audience doesn't like it, the studio is pissed. Dennis Hopper is effectively blacklisted from Hollywood. He is not given an easy time whatsoever trying to pop up in any sort of studio films. Now, he was friends with Francis Ford Coppola and gets a role in Apocalypse Now, and winds up doing bit parts here and there on the way up to about 1986, where he really makes a resurgence and returns to full form as a creative person, as an actor primarily. He does get some directing jobs in the interim of that time before he gets Blue Velvet with David Lynch, and does a movie called
Out of the Blue, a sharp shock to complacent faith in civilization,
which is hard to find. There used to be a YouTube copy that was either a VHS rip or a very poor DVD rip. It's a chaotic film. It's a strange film because it starts off as a family drama where Dennis Hopper goes to prison for drunk driving, and he plows his vehicle into a school bus and wipes it out. He goes away for some time and returns only to have an even more dysfunctional family than what we can presume was the case before. There's a lot of odd, troubling, incestuous themes with the family dynamic between his character and his daughter, and the mom and the friend who's just a creep. He's lingering around the family at all times. Very bizarre. But then it turns into something almost cartoonish, where she winds up murdering her parents, and it's completely out of nowhere. It's like the last 15 minutes of the film are of a completely different movie entirely. But you got to respect that kind of creative decision making, because you would never find that now. So Into the Blue is maybe not a perfect movie, maybe not a very good movie, but like the last movie, it's interesting, and it stimulates something in your brain when you watch it. Easy Rider, I would say, is his best film. It's probably his most commercial film, ironically, even in its anti-commercialism and its anti-capitalist themes. It's certainly trying to communicate that the American dream, whatever that might have been, is either not relevant, no longer around, or completely dead. Colors comes in 1987 or 88. That's his insurance policy to maintain his seat within the industry. And that's a decent film, but it doesn't feel very Dennis Hopper-y. Dennis Hopper has a very distinct style with Easy Rider, with the last movie, with Into the Blue. Colors doesn't really have that. Colors feels like a Nick Cassavetes film. Feels like you're watching John Q. Feels like you're watching somebody being bored behind the camera.
5 names. You ain't shit. We'll fuck you, send you to county jail. Or you give us 5 names, stand back of court, and walk. That understood? We ain't talking no DA deal now.
I don't know anybody, officer.
Search warrant, resisting arrest. You want to go for more? You're messing with the sheriff now.
If I talk?
Gun clean, you walk right here, right now?
Fuck it. Carson Sheriff, you got Chango Mosca and Tren.
That's good. I know those assholes as well as I know my own.
By comparison, where he started, there's just a number of fascinating creative decisions that I think make this movie what it is. And it is worth your time, absolutely. Easy Rider is a must in terms of checking out if you want to get a grasp on the history of American cinema.
Here's the first of the day, fellas. To old D.H. Lawrence. Nick, Nick, Nick. Indians. You know, I must have started off to Mardi Gras 6 or 7 times. Never got further than the state line. Governor of Louisiana gave me this. Madam Tinker Toys, House of Blue Lights, corner of Bourbon and Toulouse, New Orleans, Louisiana. Now this is supposed to be the finest whorehouse in the South. These ain't no pork chops. These are U.S. prime.
I'm sorry, man.
Oh, I'd like to get over there. How long did you boys say it was gonna take you to get down there?
Oh, about 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days, that right. Boy, I sure wish I was going with you.
Yeah? You got a helmet?
Oh, I've got a helmet.
Dennis Hopper is somebody who deserves a lot more credit for his role in changing the way that things developed. He's got such an interesting backstory, too, with his relationship with James Dean, and how he somehow felt guilty about James Dean dying. Like he was supposed to die, and then James Dean's spirit was absorbed into his body, and he has to carry on that whole whatever. I don't know. Very strange guy. If you can get a copy of Easy Rider or of the last movie or Into the Blue, if you can palate that first movie, I would highly recommend checking it out. He is one of the great American filmmakers. I consider him one of the 7 pioneers of American filmmaking because he did usher in a new way of how to do things. I hope you enjoyed this episode of After Dark. I will be checking out something new and obscure on the next episode, and I hope you join me for that. Again, this episode has been brought to you by Chainlink. The future of currency is Chainlink. Smart contracts, good deals gone bad, how to survive in the 21st century as things get darker, as things clamp down even more with Silicon Valley and Hollywood and the White House all now on the same page, really trying to smother out any sort of, interesting thought. Chainlink is really going to be the solution here. Chainlink is going to save all our lives. It's going to resolve every problem that you might be able to run into with these companies, with these evil corporations, conglomerates that want to control every aspect of your life. They want to force you to live in a little cubicle and just watch Amazon Prime all day, like I do. That's how I gained 80 pounds in the past 3 months, is sitting around watching episodes of The Real World on Amazon Prime, getting fatter, watching my belly grow out of my shirt as I enjoy a vegetarian pulled pork sandwich, deliciously made. But that's been the episode for this evening, and I will catch you next time. Hausu. Again, I really hate that they kind of bully you into saying it with like a racist, it's really racist, Japanese accent. Hausu, Ringu. Sounds stupid as hell. Sounds dumb. But this movie's great. I really love House from Nobuko Obayashi, one of the great unsung filmmakers of Japanese cinema, and somebody whose films are really hard to track down, which makes my need to collect all his movies in physical format all the more alluring. Blanche is the star of the film. Blanche is the iconography of the film. This is something that many movies nowadays are failing at, is producing iconography.